It's 1:30. Welcome everyone to the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, March the 8th. Ottawa County seeks to be a welcoming place where you belong. Recognizing that we are a county of many different faiths and traditions, our invocation today is offered from one of the perspectives. I will now ask Commissioner DeYoung to introduce today's invocation guest. Will you please rise?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my honor and privilege to introduce today Dr. Jim Mannis, Senior Pastor from Life Stream Church in Allendale.
You're standing. Oh my goodness. Wow. I get to, okay. Hang on for this. Here's what we're praying for. Last night, somebody from Ottawa County Sheriff Department, there was my wife's in her nightgown upstairs. The dog is barking. Somebody had tried to get in the back window, and a geared up officer, two of them were there to protect and check in on us. Lived here for 15 years, never had an experience like that until last night. And I got to tell you, I had nothing but gratitude in my heart for the way in which this community is put together. Here's the scripture that bodes the prayer. The words of the Philippians in the first chapter. I thank my God every time I think of you. In all my prayers for all of you, always giving thanks to God because he who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. You might have somebody look at you and say you're a piece of work. You are, because God's at work in you. But I know this, that whether you're presenting in this room, the officers, that you're here to shepherd this community. And so it's a prayer of gratitude. I'm gonna ask you to do something really weird. But I want you to do a gratitude takes grit and attitude. If you would rub your hands together and say grr, grr, all right? And now the attitude part, just release your hands and go attitude, all right? So one more time, it's a prayer of gratitude. Here we go. Grr, attitude. Lord God Almighty, thank you. Thank you again and again and again for equipping the men and the women in this room with shepherding hearts. Thank you for giving them the mind and the energy and the wherewithal to shepherd and serve this community to the capacity that they do. Lord, for ways in which that their hearts need wisdom and counsel and guidance, we trust that you're going to give it. We trust that you're going to give to them exactly what they need to fill the roles that they fill. And Lord, thank you that you supply, that you shepherd, that you work in our lives, that you are not finished with us as individuals, nor are you finished with us as a community. So Lord, we give you this meeting. We give you those who participate, those who present and share and give leadership and counsel. We thank you, Lord God Almighty, and we thank you for those that you've supplied in our midst today to lead us. In your mighty name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Garcia,
Here.
Mr. Baumann,
Here.
Mr. Zylstra,
Here.
Mr. Dannenberg,
Here.
Mr. Mepling,
Here.
Mr. Terpstra,
Here.
Mr. Hopler,
Present.
Mr. DeYoung,
Here.
Mr. Kyers,
Here.
Mr. Bergman,
Here.
Mr. Fenske.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Presentation of petitions and communications.
None from us.
Thank you. Next, we have a special award, a life-saving award presented by our Sheriff, Steve Kempter.
Well, first, Reverend, thank you. That support means a lot to the men and women of the Sheriff's Office. Thank you. I should ask him to come back and speak just before I do my next budget request, right? So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the board, it's once again a privilege for me to stand here before you to award 2 deputies of the Sheriff's Office Life-Saving Award. I'd like to have Deputy Porter and Deputy Zurup come forward, please. So on February 12 in the afternoon, both of the deputies standing to my left and right here were dispatched to an address in Holland Township. Deputies Porter and Zurup were dispatched to what we call a Med 1 Echo in Holland Township, where a 76-year-old female was down in the driveway and not breathing. Redonda Armstrong had fallen to the ground while she was out snowblowing. When the deputies arrived, a bystander had already started CPR, but the deputies took over CPR, and also an AED was administered to Redonda. The actions that these 2 deputies took resulted in the life-saving of Redonda. She's home today recovering from a major heart attack that she had while she was snowblowing. Again, it's been recognized by the medics from the outside paramedic service, the doctors at the hospital, that if it were not for the CPR efforts and the application of the AED, which each of our cars are equipped with, that Redonda would probably not be here today with us and with her family. So with that, as you know, we have a process that we go through with our awards committee. The boards committee looked at this award and felt that these 2, with the recommendation up to myself and the undersheriff, that the 2 receive our department life-saving award. So it's my honor and privilege to present both deputies with the life-saving award. First to Deputy Eric Porter. Eric, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Also to Deputy Tim Zurup. Tim, again, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Again, for the both of these 2, congratulations. Again, I think it shows to our community the professionalism, the training that we have pays off. And for Redonda, that definitely has paid off. And again, for the work that you each do each day, we'd say thank you. And also just a side note, some of you may recognize their last names, but they were both involved in the triple fatal accident on James Street several weeks ago with an effort there also. And we hope to bring that forth in front of you soon also. So again, thank you to the board for your support and mostly for the support of the staff of the Sheriff's Office. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Gentlemen, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks much.
Mr. Chair, there's one other thing that I would like to bring before the board today. Some of you are maybe aware of Senate bills 597 and 598. The state Senate may be gearing up to pass Senate Bill 597 and 598 before the spring recess in March. 597 and 598 would eliminate what we call PIPs, prepaid inpatient health plan, and would turn the public Medicaid mental health system over to private insurance. As a result, our local CMH will be severely weakened and become just another contractor at the whim of the insurance companies. These bills will likely result in the lost supports for courts, jails, CIT programs, and community corrections, just at a time when the criminal justice system has begun to engage diversion through collaboration processes, like the use of the crisis response teams. And this is the team that I kind of mentioned to you, where a deputy and CMH are paired together and respond to the mental health calls during the day shifts, and hopefully in the future into some of the evening shifts, where we can divert people away from jail, get them the proper mental health care. If this passes, there's a good chance that those will be gone. It's also going to affect crisis centers, specialty courts, community correction alternatives, most importantly, mental health services in the jail and aftercare to make those who touch the system more likely to be successful. Again, we've seen success through these programs, and we do not want them to see these go away, which is a possibility with these two bills. Putting these services at risk will likely result in more people being lodged in jail or prison to receive treatment rather than in the community. There are many alternatives that can be achieved, collaboration and integration of service provisions that won't result in departmental effect on the good work of the criminal justice system and our partnerships. I will leave here for you today a letter to look at that was sent on behalf of the Michigan Sheriff's Association, judges, Michigan counties, family court administrators, and the ACLU of Michigan in October. I urge you to read this letter. I also urge you to reach out to Senator Roger Victory and ask him to oppose Senate Bill 597 and 598. This again will have a detriment upon our mental health system and upon our county. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sheriff. I personally couldn't agree more. Before we go into public comment, I have my board chair comments for March the 8th. Ottawa County Conservation District is excited to announce the official rollout of the Farmland and Water Quality Conservation Initiative. Ottawa County is blessed with water. However, we need to protect the long-term economic, social, and environmental health of Ottawa County and its surrounding watersheds. The first meeting will provide an overview of the project, details on eligible conservation practices, and discuss the application process for interested parties. If you are interested, please contact Sarah Bauman at 616-842-5852 or the website at ottawacounty.org. Next, families in Ottawa County deserve good housing options in safe, stable, and affordable neighborhoods. Housing Next has announced a new collaborative that will aim to bring more affordable housing to Ottawa County. Ryan Kilpatrick, Executive Director of Housing Next, has joined the Greater Grand Rapids Chamber Foundation to resolve the widening gap in both counties' housing needs. Broadband in Ottawa County is a hot topic, and according to Paul Sachs, Director of our county's strategic impact, in order to effectively improve availability across the county, gaps are being identified that are underserved or unserved. New data is being collected and analyzed through Merit Network, resulting in a feasibility analysis and cost model. A potential solution may be developing a hybrid system that features the use of fiber and wireless technology in tandem to serve the entire county. The success of the solution will depend upon private and public partnerships. And finally, the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office and the Spring Lake Fire Department is putting together their Cram the Cruiser, non-perishable food, hygiene and cleaning products for the People's Center in Spring Lake. This outing will take place on March the 12th from 10 to 2 at Orchard Market, Spring Lake. Next is our opportunity for public comment. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please give your name and your address.
First, we have Harvey Nickel.
Good afternoon, Harvey.
Hi, how are you doing? My name is Harvey Nickel. I live at 7513 23rd Avenue in Jenison. I trust you have seen the recent research reports that verify that masks were not effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19 and the lockdowns had no benefit, but were harmful. I hope the Ottawa County Health Department has also reviewed this research and realized that the CDC guidelines were detrimental to the health of our citizens. I hope the Board of Commissioners will hold them accountable and not allow them to mask or lock down our county again. I'm very concerned that they're now pushing the use of N95 and KN95 respirators. N95 respirators are not effective in preventing the spread of a virus, and OSHA regulations require that a person must be properly trained and fitted to wear them. Also, an N95 is harmful if worn for extended periods of time because of the limited airflow. The lockdowns were disastrous for our small businesses in this country. Many will never recover. The masking, excessive testing, quarantining of healthy children had a detrimental effect on our students in school. Our children will be negatively affected by these unnecessary mandates for years to come. How many of the 415 suicide intervention incidents reported in the Blue Envelope initiatives resulted from these abusive mandates that were forced on our schools by the Ottawa County Health Department? I also have some questions about the vaccine clinics held by the health department. When people come to the clinic to receive the COVID-19 shot, are they told that they are participating in the human trials of this experimental gene therapy? The human trials for Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J vaccines are scheduled to end on 2023. Are they told that there are more deaths from the COVID vaccine than from all other vaccines over the past 30 years? The VAERS report now lists 24,827 deaths. Documents recently released from Pfizer show that you are 12 times more likely to die from the shots than from COVID. There are over 43,000 vaccine adverse events for children aged 5 through 17. When a parent brings his or her child in to receive the shot, are they told that the COVID-19 vaccine increases the child's risk of death by 5,100%? Are they told that the risk of myocarditis and multi-system inflammatory syndrome? Why is it there's such a push to vaccinate our children? Why do we keep hearing the commercials saying that the vaccines are safe and effective? Maybe it's because the federal government has paid over $1 billion to the media outlets to convince everyone to get the vaccine. This is the same government that funded the research to create the bioweapon SARS-CoV-2. Something is definitely wrong here. The mRNA vaccine should have never been given emergency use authorization because the FDA knew that there were effective cures such as early treatment with zinc and with ionophores such as ivermectin and HCQ. That's why the health department must stop following the CDC guidelines and start doing what is best for the health of the citizens of this county.
Thank you, Harvey.
Up next, I have Gary Walters.
I have my VAERS report again. And the death after the vaccine.
Okay. I'm Gary Walters. I'm at 10641 Osborne Robinson. Last August, the storm went through and damaged some trees, and the road commission came out and took a front end loader and went up into my property and pushed the trees off the right of way, damaging much of my property. I filled out the documentation for compensation for the damage back last fall, and I've made numerous trips back to the county south of Grand Haven here to find out the progress of my claim. And here I stand with nothing, no correspondence back to me or anything. So I'd like some guidance of what to do next.
We will get back with you, Gary.
So everything's cool?
Yeah, no, we'll reach out to you.
Yeah. So maybe after the meeting, I can get your contact information and follow up on that. Would that work?
How long do these meetings last normally?
Or do you have-
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Up next, I have Gregory Steigenga.
Good afternoon. My name is Gregory Steigenga. I reside at 3398 Bald Eagle Pass in Georgetown Township. I appreciate the opportunity to address you for a moment or two here. The reason I'm here today is to inform the commission that I will be seeking the District 7 County Commission seat that will be vacated by Jim Holtfloor at the end of his current term. It has been my understanding that he does not plan on running again, and I confirmed that with him personally. My family has resided in the Georgetown area for most of our life. And it was my privilege to serve with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office for 30 years prior to retiring from the department in 2015. Over the past 6 years, I have served as a city commissioner in the city of Hudsonville, a position that I enjoyed very much, but had to step away from after moving outside of the city recently. I look forward to continuing my role in public service by becoming a county commissioner. During my years with the sheriff's office, I had the distinct opportunity to serve as the department's undersheriff for 11 years. And I worked alongside Sheriff Gary Rosema during that time. While serving as the undersheriff, I established professional relationships with many of you, as well as past and present county department heads. So I look forward to continuing those relationships when I become a county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Up next, I have David Barnosky.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is David Barnosky. I vote in Port Sheldon Township. In West Olive, 14477 Shady Hollow. I wasn't going to speak today, but I've always been led to believe that you shouldn't let disinformation lie. I understand why you do not reply to it, or the people in the audience who also know better. But I think I could refute virtually everything Mr. Nickel just said. The one thing I can most pointedly bring up is the VAERS report that he has repeated ad nauseum at your meetings. The VAERS report accepts any report from any person about any event that happens after a vaccine is given. There is no requirement that those reports actually tie the event to the vaccine. They just happened afterwards. He keeps repeating this number of deaths due to the vaccine, and it's a number that you probably already know if you've done your own research, but not where he does his research, that it's just not connected. This is how they found some of the issues that they found with, I forget what it was, but they did actually, this tool is so that they can investigate all of these issues even with no report, no actual connection previously made. They might find something. That's why they collect the VAERS report the way they do. There are not 24,000 or 42,000, whatever number he gave, deaths attributed to the vaccine. They happened after the vaccine was given, and that's all that has been proven. The myocarditis stats he gave are also false, but I mean, normally when I disprove things on Facebook, I give links to reputable sources. The VAERS comments he continuously makes are false. And now I'm going to go back to participating over there.
Thank you.
Got no more in person, and I have none on Zoom.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll entertain a motion for the approval of our agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Hopler,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Dannenberg,
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Terpstra,
Yes.
Mr. Mepling,
Yes.
Mr. Ballman,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Fensky.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is our consent resolutions. Commissioner Dannenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we approve consent resolutions 1 through 8.
Is there any discussion? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to remove contract 1484 from a list of post-executed contracts under section 3.
You want to remove
Contract
1484 in
Yep.
particular?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We will place that little guy under action items number 1. We'll come back to it. For the rest of them, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Dannenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Terpstra,
Yes.
Mr. Meppling,
Yes.
Mr. Hopler,
Yes.
Mr. Baumann,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung,
Yes.
Mr. Fenske.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Action items. We'll take this up at this point, number one. No, not yet.
That is me. I'd like to make a motion to ratify all contracts currently pending on post-execution ratification list as authorized under section 4D2 of Ottawa County Contracting Authorization and Foreign Policy.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
I'm confused about the motion. I
We're
mean,
just getting it on the table.
Now you can talk about it.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I pulled off contract, just one specifically, 1484, just kind of get some information on that contract. All we have is the contract itself. Do we have information on this, John, or?
Could you help explain what Zensity
So-
does?
Yeah, contract 1484 on the ratification list is the proposed contract with Zen City. It's a media monitoring tool that we use. This would be the third year of the contract. So they look at all of the social media comments on that affect Ottawa County. Positive comments, negative comments that are either on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, or even Wood TVs or Holland Sentinels, their social media platforms. So we'll see those comments, whether it's on COVID or elections or ag preservation. And it gives us just another tool to kind of know what the community is thinking on any particular issue. So the contract here is for one more year ending in March of 2023, and then we'll evaluate if we still need to do that because sometimes we'll hear, just like today, you might hear opinions on one way on an issue.
Right.
And here when they can give us an idea, does everyone feel the exact same way that people do when they come to the board meeting to provide public comment or
Okay.
not?
Okay.
So that's what that's for.
Now, this is a pilot that we're doing for 3 years, because I noticed that we're getting a discounted rate. Is that
Yeah,
just kind
this
of
would
rate?
be
going
actually the third, they're doing, they used to also provide some survey work for us as well. We're not asking for that. So we asked for a reduction in what they're providing, which also provided a reduction in the price. In the previous years, we were paying about 60,000. This is for 36,000.
Okay, and that's because the limitation of services, reduction in services that we're
Yep.
asking for.
Yep.
So going forward, if we do approve this for the following year, we will be at the 36. It's not gonna this is the end of
I
the
don't see
period, and
us-
we're gonna go up to 60 unless we.
I don't see us doing that. And after this coming year, depending on, if, especially if there are no hot button issues, we may
Sure.
not even renew it after this year.
Okay,
So it's something we'll evaluate at the end of this contract.
okay. And then who, I know this came from administration, who actually has access to Zen City?
The primary purpose would be Shannon Felgner, our communications manager.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. I just wanted to find out more information about it.
That's fine.
So
that's
thank you.
fine. We have put it back on the floor. We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dannenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Baumann,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Meppling,
Yes.
Mr. Terpstra,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung,
Yes.
Mr. Hopler,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers.
Yes.
And Mr. Fenske.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Appointments, none. Discussion items. We have several of our reports today, and this first one is going to be presented by Kendra Sponger. Ottawa County Department of Health and Human Services, the 2021 annual report. Hi.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me present today on our update from last year. Nice to see everyone fully. So it's nice. All right. When she pulls that up.
No petitions.
I
So
know.
roomy and-
I actually just said
Can you
that.
believe this?
I was saying, last time I was here, we still had the divider. So that's great to see everyone's full face. So it's great. Like to see your smile. All right, so wanted to provide some updates and some highlights from last year. So first, thought it would start at the beginning with what were some of the major changes or highlights that impact the data that you're going to see throughout the rest of the report. So first, our biggest highlight was that our lobbies were able to be reopened to clients in July of 2021. We in Ottawa advocate and are big proponents of customer service, and we're very happy when we're able to open up the lobbies for client traffic. I do want to thank the county. One of the best things that we have about our location is that, as you guys know, we lease the building from the county, is that the county was open and willing to let us have information, applications, all of our assistance information, masks and other things, all provided in our outer lobby. So even though we were closed up until July of 2021, the county was allowing us to truly be open to continue to service our clients. So I truly want to thank the county for that capacity. Not every county office had that ability. May they be that they are a leased building or their county just didn't have that foyer area available. So I want to thank you guys for that opportunity to continue to service our clients. With that, and also we started a prevention program reinitiation in June of 2021. The state is working with the feds on the Families First Prevention Services Act. And with that, we decided to create 2 positions that we have in Ottawa. Those are part of our own staffing allocation. It was a choice that we made locally. So we have a prevention worker that works pre-CPS and a prevention worker that works post-return, reunification, and adoption. So we started that in June, and that continues to be going strong. In July, staff were able, once the offices were open in the lobby, staff were able to choose if they would like to be hybrid, either working completely from home or working in the office. A majority of our staff did choose to maintain in home. However, we do have some obviously that are reporting to the office to maintain the accessibility to clients. In August and November, we assisted other counties with disaster FAP, which is disaster food assistance program. We were in 3 counties, Wayne, Macomb, and Oakland. And so staff used their time to go over there and assist those individuals, which we greatly appreciated, as well as continued participation in the COVID hotlines and the COVID email statewide program. During this last year in October, we started a great partnership with the Ottawa Area ISD. We have a donated fund position, which means it's partly funded by them and partly funded by us. The role of that position is to get as much funding as we can through the Great Start Readiness Program, which is early preschool. With our data that we have through the department, we're able to find the individuals that qualify for that program that maybe the ISD hasn't been able to reach for some reason. We've already seen some great advancements since October. The individual that we have placed there has already filled many slots to bring in more funding. So very grateful about that. And then the long-term impacts for our county. So obviously we hear that kids that are going to preschool are more likely to graduate and become obviously continue through education. So that's obviously our goal as well. So very excited about continuing that partnership with the ISD. Next is our Project One Day that started in the fall. Project One Day's goal is for that when individuals come in and apply for assistance, that if they have all of their information on that first day, that we can either give them approval or denial the day that they apply. So that is ultimately our goal. So we're really trying to advertise out to the community that when clients apply for assistance to have the information needed on day one, so we can hopefully give them their information right away. Are you approved? Are you denied? So we are working through that process. And again, that started in the fall. We're already seeing some improvements with how quickly we're able to get people their assistance. All right, community participation. Just wanted to add some of the things that we have been working on, even though we were closed for the first part of 2021. We continued a lot of involvement in the community as state employees. We have a partnership with the Journey Home, which is a nonprofit agency with Michigan Fosters. And so that is one home that's available for us to use for parenting time and other places to give more of a natural setting for our families. We also helped with the COVID vaccine clinics with our migrant staff, and many staff use their community leave, which a lot of people would normally use for schools when we were doing field trips. They're slowly coming back. But our staff used a lot of their community leave to assist with other things such as helping in the parks. And so you can see some of those examples on that slide. All right, so our assistance programs, no changes here on what it is that we provide, but we'll go through each one very quickly. The first is the Family Independence Program, which is cash assistance. And as you can see, there was a pretty significant decrease from 2020 to 2021. And as most people would probably imply, or we believe, it's because the economy was getting better, people were getting back to work in 2021. And so we're continuing to see those numbers be pretty static at the beginning of 2022 as well. So the average number of cases in 2021 was 82. The average number of recipients total was 185, which again was a pretty significant decrease from 341 in 2020. The average household for cash assistance is 2. The average FIT payment to Ottawa was $384 a month. And then you can see the comparison of overall. With food assistance program, there continue to be significant funds provided to Ottawa County and across the state, with the federal government continuing the minimum $95 benefit that is issued. That continues to be reviewed on a monthly basis. So as of this point, we are up through February that it has been approved, and we're waiting for March to see if it will also be approved. The feds also approved as of October 1st, 2020, that after the exemptions are lifted, that there is an average increase of $36 per person for pre-pandemic levels. So either way, there's going to be a minimal amount that's going to have to come back, which was better than where we were prior to COVID. And as noted, the average number of cases in 2021 was 7,656. The average number of recipients was 14,923. And again, the average household size was 2. And the average benefits were $216 per person in Ottawa County. CDC, or Development and Care. This will be one that will be interesting to see if the numbers go up for next year. The numbers went down a little slightly from 2020 to 2021. However, with the Ottawa ISD position that we have as a donated fund agreement, she is also trying to bridge the gap for families where maybe they say they can't bring their child to preschool because they're employed, and we're trying to bridge that gap to give them also daycare assistance if they qualify. So we're actually hopeful to see that number go up, as data reports that there's 25% of the state that's actually eligible for CDC assistance, but about 5% actually take advantage of it. So as you can see in Ottawa County, we provided an average of 227 families, or 348 recipients or children per month in 2021. And the average monthly payment was $1,108.61 per month. We continue in collaborations with the county to look at daycare deserts, or areas in which there's not enough daycare providers, and we continue to collaborate with the county for ideas for that. State disability assistance, so bridging that gap before SSI is approved. This number continues to be pretty low and stagnant for Ottawa County. Our average number of individuals on SDA per month for 2021 was 31, and the average monthly payment is only $205.81. All right, state emergency relief. This is another area where we continue to be working in collaboration with other agencies in our community to try and get payments into Ottawa County. One of those was the eviction diversion program with the SARA funds with Good Samaritan Ministries. We participated in some of those efforts when the eviction diversion program first started in 2020, and continue to be involved as we're able, because as you can see, we have very small numbers for rental assistance and relocation, which is that SER, or supplemental emergency relief dollars. Most of the individuals that are applying are denied for being above income and or their housing is unaffordable. All right, individuals on Medicaid, another one that continues to see increases. However, as of today, we did find out that information is getting out to the community about making sure that their address is up to date with us related to Medicaid. The public health emergency has continued, obviously from 2020, April 2020, up until at least now. However, once that is lifted, we will be reevaluating individuals' ability to maintain on Medicaid. During this whole time frame, we've not been able to do redeterminations to make sure that the individual maintains eligibility. So there may be quite a few individuals that are no longer eligible to be on the program and will be closed. So we're trying to get out to the community, make sure your address is up to date. So when you're getting information from us, you can send it back quickly to verify if indeed you are eligible to maintain on Medicaid. So as of 2021, active assistance, we had 30,920 individuals on Medicaid compared to 27,523 in 2020. And then in conjunction with that is our Healthy Michigan plan, which all the eligibility criteria is listed. I did want to share that as of today, our current numbers are 14,191 individuals on Healthy Michigan plan. And we usually see that number spike a little bit right now because of tax time. So usually everyone has to verify that they're on some kind of health insurance. And so we usually see a spike in this time frame. So we see that now. All right, and then some outreach that's provided. First, our migrant and seasonal farm worker outreach. As I mentioned, they assisted with some of the vaccine clinics and testing for COVID, both in 2020 and in 2021. They worked with the Migrant Resource Council, which actually many of our staff are board members or have chair seats on the council, and helped to organize a number of events, including food distribution. And here's some actual local pictures of the migrant staff collaborating with Fellowship Reformed Church, assisting with Meetup and Eat Up in 2 of the months in local communities. Pathways to Potential is our success coaches that are located in schools. During 2021, we did have one change. We had a position that was collaborating with Allegan County and was stationed at Jefferson School, as it's right on the border. Unfortunately, due to staffing and other reasons, Allegan decided to no longer have that partnership. So that was closed as of February 2021. All of our staff did go back to the schools full time and have maintained actually all except for the closure in 2020 for the end of the spring. Otherwise, they continued all school year in the schools and were considered to be like staff, so they weren't considered visitors. Our Employer Resource Network, again, continues to assist employers with bridging gaps, may it be daycare assistants or SERs, to assist with maintaining people in employment, and those entities are all listed as well. Flexible spending, I just wanted to share, most of these we try and spend as much as we can for what we receive. Last year for 2021, direct support services, we didn't spend as much as we would like. However, for fiscal year 22, which we're actively in right now, we have seen a huge increase due to assistance with one of our volunteers who actually used to be a DHHS employee that is assisting us with getting individuals car repairs, car purchases. As individuals that qualify, you can receive 1 car purchase per lifetime. And so we're working on spending those funds and getting much more filtered into Ottawa County for that specific funding source. All right, as far as individual and family services, first child protective services, we didn't see a whole lot of change from 2020 to 2021. Just some things to note, in 2021, we received 3,794 CPS referrals, which were all called into our CPS centralized intake 24/7 hotline, statewide line. That was a decrease of about 4% from 2020. Of that number, of all the calls that were received specific for Ottawa County, 1,368, so 36% of those that were called in were actually assigned for investigation. So many of them are screened out. Of those that were assigned, 613, or about 45% of them, were substantiated on, which would mean that there was likelihood of abuse or neglect to occur, which would have classified them either as being open and closed with services, opened as a category 2 and receiving in-home services, or open as a category 1, either with the individual staying at home with court supervision and or removal. And of that, of the 51, or of the ones that were substantiated, the 51 of them were petitioned to the court, which is 8%. So of all the calls that were received to centralized intake related to Ottawa County, only 1.3% were actually petitioned to the court, which is great numbers to verify our hope and our goal with prevention to keep kids in the community. All right, next, foster care. Again, pretty stable overall. In 2021, we averaged 93 direct foster care cases and 95 purchase cases, which is our private agency foster care with all of our connected agencies, Bethany Christian Services, Pathways of Arbor Circle, Catholic Charities, Holy Cross, DA Blodgett. And so combined average of 188 kids in care. And in 2021, we had 34 youth that were adopted to get them out of foster care and provide permanency. Foster home licensing, we continue to do well in licensing, but are always advocating and looking for more foster homes. In 2021, we licensed 16 new foster homes for our county, and our private agencies licensed 38, so a total of 54 new homes were licensed in 2021. We are always actively recruiting, as mentioned, and one of those ways was bringing our transitional placement program into Ottawa County, which is newer these last couple of years, which is basically shelter care for our kids, but in a foster home setting in our community. And so we have 3 of those with a total of 7 beds, which we are extremely grateful for. Next, our last is Michigan Youth Opportunity Initiative, which was in 2021, we had 25 individuals enrolled, which are most of them are youth either in care and or have aged out of foster care. And it was great to see that 3 individuals graduated from high school this year and continue to be involved with the program. Most of it's virtual, which actually enhanced our number of individuals participating in order to have them be involved without having to drive, which was definitely a barrier for transportation. One thing I do want to highlight was the collaboration that we had in December for a baby fair that we had in our community, which involved the health department, involved WIC, and many other providers for infants, for our MYY youth who came either with their children and or were pregnant and able to find resources together, hopefully to make them successful as brand new parents. So very exciting there. And so lastly, just want to thank you again. I appreciate the support that you provide to my board members, as 2 of them are appointed by the county, and appreciate the support for the participation with the MCSSA, the Michigan County Social Services Association. They are very grateful to represent Ottawa County and all the work that we do. So thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Gentlemen?
Kendra?
Yeah.
I was just looking at this, maybe I missed something, but this Children's Protective Services investigations, why the big drop from 2019 to 2020? And I mean, that was a much lower number than it's ever been.
So 2 things. So 2019, obviously we had, people were full in session for school. Then 2020, we had COVID. So the number of calls decreased in 2020. And then there was also a review of what and why things should be investigated. So centralized intake changed their process to do more collateral contacts at the beginning through a phone call instead of actually assigning it for investigation. So the number of cases that actually made it to us at the local office was drastically smaller. So we went to about 50% of the cases being assigned to, as mentioned, I think it was 34%. So that's a pretty large number. So it's a change in the front end.
Okay.
Yep. Good question.
Kendra, if I could follow up on that. What percentage of the calls regarding the protective service come from the schools themselves? Is it 50%, 70%?
I can ask that data. I can get it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then seeing that you changed the criteria whether to follow up on a concern or not, should the number then continue to be lower than what they were prior to 2019 and before then?
So 2 things. One, we saw a drastic difference in Ottawa County when the centralized intake was created. Here in Ottawa, we were actually one of the pilot counties. It was actually prior to me coming, but I was involved with that initiation because we did a lot of the front end calls, just like centralized intake is doing now. So we actually saw a spike in the number of cases that were investigated in Ottawa, and then it kind of planed out, and now you're seeing that drop again. So going back to what Ottawa used to do before with doing some of those preliminary contacts. So an example would be if someone calls and says, you know, I haven't seen my niece for 6 months, but I know last time I was there was this issue, this issue, this issue. We might call the school who has contact with the child now and say, hey, we're checking on this. Are you aware of this? And they're like, no, we were just out there yesterday. So there might be something that a collateral is done. So there's not a reason for us to necessarily be assigned. So some of those collateral front end contacts are being completed. So that's kind of where we saw the difference, kind of like almost like a flattening, I guess you could say. But yes, with the changes that they've had with front end redesign is what it's called, we've definitely seen some, what we consider some positive changes, because now they're sending it to our prevention staff. So I can definitely next year, hopefully we'll be able to pull some data, because that data isn't provided yet on the number of prevention cases, because not every county has a prevention worker. That was just a choice that we made here in Ottawa to have. But that would probably be more of the data that you might be interested in.
Any other questions for Kendra?
I got one. The food assistance, I know you said you're not sure, it's like month to month, but what is your gut feeling on when that's going to end?
Oh, my gut feeling. Crystal ball. Actually, on a call that we were on this morning, because I think it's going to be tied pretty closely to the emergency health with the Medicaid cases. We're guesstimating April with a request for July, because we asked for a 60-day grace period to actually get things closed. So that would probably be where I would guess would be July.
And then with the food assistance from the COVID relief, what other assistance is tied to the COVID type of thing? And when is it just like the food assistance, or what other assistance and how much money are they getting?
Food assistance and Medicaid are the two areas that we are currently getting, I guess, extra benefits directly from the feds for COVID. Some of the other things like the Families First Services Prevention Act is not tied to COVID. Some of our additional funds for direct support services are not tied to COVID. So I would say for us, those would be the two areas. Good question.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Good report. Nice
Thank
job.
you. And I'll follow back, Frank, on your question. Thank you.
Next, we have Michigan State University Extension 2021 Annual Report presented by Erin Moore, District Coordinator. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Well, while we wait for our presentation to be pulled up, I will say I was awfully inspired by our pastor this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. So I was thinking that we could all join together in doing a little exercise of how I teach people about what MSU Extension does. I'll have you put your arm out like this with your fist. When people hear MSU Extension, they first hear MSU. We're a large academic organization. That's pretty common. And you we're all joining me already. We're all joining me. Now reach out your fingers. That's what Extension does. We extend out to the community. And we do that. And now I'm going to say, reach out your fingers and raise your hand. And if you believe in lifelong learning, give yourself a high five. That is what Extension does. So this past year, we had over 71 programs launched in this community. But what was cool is that we saw that we had 484 programs that Ottawa County residents participated in. This would not have been possible if we'd not shifted to a hybrid model. So we have both in-person and virtual programs. And this is very cool. We're going to study the data to see how we can best reach Ottawa County residents. We reached over 2,300 Ottawa County residents last year alone with all of our programs. And I would love to tell you about all 484 programs, but I don't think that you would want me to sit here and do that. So what I've decided to do today is tell you about how we function as an organization. We function as a group of experts that respond to both local needs and interests. And studying the data from last year, that need and interest in this county, that kind of spiked maybe as a result of the last couple of years was consumer horticulture. So I want to call up one of my colleagues, Rebecca Finneran, 35 years with Extension, who has done some incredible programming in this county.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. I hope I recognize a few of you. Again, my name is Rebecca Finneran. I'm with MSU Extension, and I am a senior horticulture educator, and I work statewide with a team of horticulture educators across Michigan. And we literally serve every county of every state, and we do it as a team. So how many of you know how many people are in the state of Michigan? Approximately. Big number, in the millions. 10 million, thank you. So how can 9 individuals serve 10 million people? And I'll tell you, it's not easy, but we have to harness every method of communication possible in order for us to reach the people, the clients in Ottawa County, in Kent County, in Detroit, all over the state, so that we can help them be better stewards of the environment and learn about gardening. So one of the things I should tell you is people always want to know, what is consumer horticulture? And really all of you, 70% of you have your hands in some kind of gardening activity. So you're either fertilizing and caring for your lawn, maybe you're growing some vegetables, maybe you have perennials, trees, shrubs, and even houseplants. So having said that, we also as a group can have both positive and negative effects on our environment. As you well know, we have people that don't really understand, about caring for plants and the environment in general. So we tend to overdo things as consumers. And that's part of our role at Michigan State University, is help people be what we call a smart gardener. So how many of you have heard of that term, smart gardening, before? Anybody? Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So this is a big effort from MSU. We've actually launched this across a couple of states, which is exciting. And the idea is that all of us can participate in IPM. How many of you have heard of IPM before? So is that anything you would ever talk about, like at a party? Like, it's just so boring, right? But if somebody says, would you like to be a smart gardener, and would you like to be easy on the environment and learn how to save money in the same time, a lot of you would say, yeah, kinda, I do. So that's the idea behind smart gardening. And what we try to do is to help people learn about easy, simple things that they can adopt and do at home to help alleviate the pressures and the pollutants in our environment, and also invasive plants and issues like gypsy moth and oak wilt and all those kinds of things. So we work real hard. So in this last year, 259 Ottawa County residents took classes from our MSU Extension Consumer Horticulture team of 9 people. Ottawa residents took advantage of 16 different educational series, workshops, and programs and webinars, and that featured all of us. Did I teach all of those? No, I did not. But we had literally every county in Michigan served, and we're, everybody's kind of being able to tap in. So in a way, being virtual and COVID was kind of helping us. So we launched to literally thousands of people, all these COVID online virtual workshops that people were over the moon about. And a great example would be pruning. So a lot of consumers would like to learn how to prune trees, shrubs, all that kind of stuff, and do it the right way. And you don't have to stand in a minus 20 degree wind chill behind some tall guy, and you get to see it because it's virtual. And so everything's right in front of you. So people have been over the moon about these pruning workshops because they're now really able to see, not only the pruning, but then we do pests and disease workshops and all these things. So that's actually worked really well for us. We also bring in many national experts for different workshops and classes, and it gives us a chance to tap into folks with expertise that maybe we don't have, and it would be very expensive to get them here. So we really appreciate being able to do that. So just kind of a cadre of ideas of what we did besides pruning. So vegetable gardening, hydroponics. I mentioned pruning. We did pest control. Many of you have heard of the MSU Extension Master Gardener Program. So that is actually a volunteer program that we put on to help educate a cadre of individuals to help us help you. And they in turn go around and help educate people about smart gardening, which is very exciting. Oops, went too fast here. So the last thing I wanted to point out was a really cool new initiative that came up last year in Holland, Michigan at Windmill Island. We are working with them collectively on putting in a pollination exhibit garden. So if many of you are familiar with Windmill Island Gardens and how many people they have access to. And they needed our help and we needed their help. And so we came together and formed this partnership, and we're going to be doing presentations there this spring and then later this year to help people learn about smart gardening and also about protecting pollinators. So I did send around a bookmark for you all. One of the things that I'm involved with is a statewide Ask Extension team. People can access either by a 1-800 number or online, literally 24/7 to ask questions, and our experts, myself included, will return those, and it helps provide access for people that really, don't have time to bring a sample in or whatever, but the online thing has been really good. So that bookmark will give you access to that, and you'll notice the bookmark's theme is oak wilt. So for all of you who have either gypsy moth or oak wilt or those kinds of things in your area, we have support materials that you can attach to newsletters. You can put them on your websites. All of the stuff's online and it's all free. So with that, I would like to turn it back over to Erin Moore.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I'll just add that the #1 thing that MSU Extension sells in this building is soil test kits. That is for individuals to test their soil. And as someone who went through the Master Gardener class and does not have a green thumb, I will say it's extremely helpful to know what we put in our soil ends up in our water. And that's important for this county. And so we continually see those sales today. So move on. So agriculture is not everything that we do, despite some myths out there. I think when you close your eyes and think of MSU Extension, that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. We do a plethora of health and nutrition classes. This past year, our nutrition education team went into 23 different classrooms. They reached over 400 youth in the county. We also had 135 residents take our social and emotional health classes. And I will say this is one of the topic areas, our service areas, that our numbers have really climbed in this area. As you can imagine, admitting that you need help with your mental health is a difficult first step. And by putting these classes out there virtually, it's allowed people to access them for free at their own time, space, and leisure. So they can take that first step in getting some help that they might need. We've also had a growing popularity for our food safety classes. I think last year you could not find canning equipment in the county because they had sold out. I think people were using that as a pastime activity during some lockdown months, but we're really happy to see that programming grow. Next, as you all know, the Grand River is a vital part of this economy, and it's also a playground for many people. So it's important that we keep that the river safe. And we're doing that by bringing in a program called Paddle Stewards, where we're educating residents and how they can help protect these waters. That's cleaning boats, making sure that they're not bringing invasive species from one body of water to another. Those can hitchhike right on your boat if you're not careful in washing your boat off. And these are little small things that we can all be doing to protect our community. And so we're bringing that education right here to Ottawa County. And those pictures are actually on the Grand River here. The last thing I want to talk about is that we have a robust ag team here in Ottawa County. You might recognize this face, Martin Manguel. He is a dairy educator. He texts me pictures and says, "I'm out with the ladies today." That is him out with his dairy cows. His goal, which he studies by working with partners, is what are the goals of dairy farmers? This past year, he had a focus on increasing farm profitability, and doing that, increasing herd size, milk quality, milk production. He does courses in milker training, feed assessments, management consults with labor. Just helping to bridge the gap with a farmer and their team is a big part of the work that we were able to do. And then lastly, I would like to bring up my colleague, Bill Lindbergh. Bill started on Monday of last week. I want to say, come on up, Phil. As you all know, you cannot drive far in this county without driving by a Christmas tree farm. What you might not know is how much work it takes to make that farm profitable. to make sure that those trees are healthy. And we have hired Bill to help us do that. Bill, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Thank you. Yes, my name is Bill Limberg. As Aaron said, I just started at MSU Extension as a Christmas tree educator for the state of Michigan. I look forward to working with our Christmas tree farmers across the state and help them produce crops that are profitable for them and also environmentally safe. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. He's probably not happy that I said 1 week into it, you're going to come present with me, but here we are. So with that, I just want to say a huge thank you to the Board of Commissioners and of course, all of our Ottawa County partners. They've been extremely supportive this last 2 years as we've adapted our programs to both a virtual and in-person setting and found the best fit for Ottawa County.
Thank you. Any questions?
What's the cost for the consulting for the Christmas tree?
Yeah, so the question was, what's the cost for the consulting? There is no cost to have a consultant or an extension educator work with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that,
Commissioner DeYoung?
Aaron, thanks for the work you're doing here. For years, we had breakfast on the farm here in Ottawa County. We had 3 different locations. Many of this board served on those things. It was just a great showcase for our county. Will that ever come back?
I do believe it'll come back. Our Charles Gould, who is our manure management expert, quite the title to have. He has worked historically with the Ottawa County Farm Bureau. That is their event that we co-host with them. And so it's really up to Ottawa County Farm Bureau whether or not they want to fully step back into breakfast on the farm with us and host that event. I think it's a huge event, so I think we do want to bring it back. But in the last couple of years, we've been a little hesitant to do the on again, off again with big out programs.
Is it happening in other places throughout the state or?
No, it's been on hold for a couple of years.
Good program though.
Yeah,
Fun day.
excellent program.
I have a question for Rebecca. You spoke about the pollinators on Windmill Island.
Yes.
And those of us that maybe have hives and different things with bees. Without you answering, is there anybody in the room that might know how far the average honeybee can travel to do their job? Phil?
A really long ways, man.
That was a really good answer.
Do you know?
Well, I primarily work with native bees. So the bumblebees and all the little
Okay.
bees, the adrenids and all that kind of stuff. And I think, the reason for the pollinator garden isn't so much to help people learn how to produce honey. It's about how to conserve our native bees. We have over 2,500 native bees right here in Michigan. So many species, I haven't seen them all. And yet, when we have residences and homes that have no floral resources whatsoever, you can't hope to encourage a native pollinator. That there has to be diversity in the landscape, still some trees and woods and things around to help them overwinter. And they're important for, we always think about pollinators and crops like blueberries. And the native bees actually do a great job doing that too. But songbirds, if we don't have fruits for the birds to eat and insects and so forth, the pollinators are the ones that need to do that. It's all native pollinators that are acting that way. Actually, a lot of our commercial producers are really working hard at enhancing native pollinators too. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we have a lot of growers now that are doing big like windrows of wild plants. So what we probably call them wildflowers, but native blooming plants that help sustain those bees throughout the entire year. So anyway.
Phil's wife Pam in his backyard has a lot of flowers for pollinators.
Yeah, that's good. I have a question though, since you're up there. When and how short do you trim your hostas?
When and how short? Well, do you have deer?
I do not have deer. I do not have deer.
So are you asking me to whether you deadhead them or whether you cut them back in the fall?
I come back in the spring.
Oh, I always cut mine back in the fall. One of the
Okay.
reasons I do that has to do with smart gardening. That was a really good question. So if any of you have had hostas in the landscape and that you have plagued with slugs and all kinds of critters, if you start trimming them back in the fall, you'll remove a lot of those the insect eggs and the habitat basically for the slugs to overwinter from year to year. So I highly recommend good fall cleanup, and that means cutting them back. So, yeah. By the way, did you know that hosta flowers are also good pollinator plants? So I used to deadhead my hostas religiously, and now I let them have lunch and then I deadhead them. So, thank you.
I have a larger question. So you're doing this garden on Windmill Island, right? Have you given thought to any other areas in the county? Specifically, I'm thinking of Harbor Island, where there's a lot of birding that's happening. And I'm thinking, you know, with the BLP tearing down their power plant, we're looking for things.
Yeah. So the Windmill Island partnership, I think, really was threefold. It worked out really well because they have a site and they were kind enough to pull in irrigation for us. So it was an existing site that had become overrun. And we had our team of MSU Extension Master Gardeners, and many of them live right here in Ottawa County. So they didn't want to drive to Grand Rapids to the Grand Ideas Garden to volunteer. They wanted a place here to call their own, right? So then we have to think about messaging. So we don't just maintain things. We have to be able to link what we do to someone else learning. So Windmill Island, as you know, has a huge amount of traffic. And so in this case, we're going to be doing that pollinator education with signage. So, you know, tens of thousands of people are walking by, they're learning about how, you know, like leave a few weeds in your lawn, how trees and shrubs are really important for pollinators, how reducing pesticides helps. So it's, you know, it might be passive education, but it's still a spot. So we are always looking for places to.
Harbor Island doesn't have any irrigation.
Doesn't have any,
It
yeah.
doesn't have thousands of people that walk by.
Well, that was a really good thing because we want to, you know, that's what, you know, Aaron talked about this and that, you know, we want to reach as many people as we can because we know what's the percent of people that have their hands in gardening? Do you guys remember? Come on. 70, very good. So we know that 70% of the people walking by are going to go, oh, I could make a difference in my own backyard. That's what we want. You know, we want them to take that little message home and really feel like, you know, that they can help, and they can. So,
I understand.
okay.
So the answer, anybody want to take a guess on the average honeybee? How?
I can't wait any longer, please.
All right. Huh? 60 what? About 3.5 miles, the average honeybee. So yeah, so you've got an exceptionally outstanding bee there. So, any further questions for Aaron?
I don't have a question, but just a comment. I'm lucky enough to be on the committee with Aaron, and just the amount of resources that Michigan State has. It's not just farming or anything like that. I mean, business, marketing. You think about it. If you have any questions whatsoever, just go on their extension website and type it in. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find it. I mean, 4-H, you know, I grew up a 4-H kid selling pigs, chickens, and turkeys, but it's more than just that too. I mean, they have like after school program type stuff. There's just plethora of stuff that any age can get involved with the extension.
Excellent. That's how you had the answers.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Lisa Stefanowski from our Ottawa County Department of Public Health.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I know what I'm going to do in my next life. I'm taking the Master Gardener class. That sounds like an awful lot of fun. And I'll study bees. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and present before you. I know it's been a while, and I've got just so many things to tell you that I'm excited about, but I'm shaving it way down to just a few highlights and COVID impacts for you today. In most program areas, our staff continue to be diverted to emergency response activities. This, in combination with fewer people seeking healthcare services, resulted in scheduling fewer appointments in many of those clinical program areas. We adapted our services, like others have mentioned today, to telehealth and curbside services to protect patients and staff during the pandemic. Our travel immunization program was paused temporarily due to the pandemic, but I'm happy to report that those clinics are now open, and we are seeing a pretty significant influx of people coming in who are now able to travel to remote parts of the world where certain diseases that aren't endemic here are there that require vaccinations. Childhood immunization rates have declined in Ottawa County, sadly. This is also true across the state and the nation. This is of great concern, but I will tell you the good news is Ottawa County remains in one of the top seats in terms of rates, vaccination rates in the state of Michigan. This is something that we're going to continue to work on, outreach and planning around, just ensuring access to vaccine for those who choose to vaccinate. In our communicable disease unit, COVID certainly has been dominating the landscape. However, as mandated by the Michigan Public Health Code, there are over 100 reportable diseases that get reported to us each year. And we have a unique responsibility for monitoring, investigating, and mitigating the spread of these diseases. There's been a concerning increase in 3 diseases that we're monitoring closely. Gonorrhea is up 28%, chlamydia up 24%, and Lyme disease up 180% since 2020. Again, potentially resulting from people seeking care less during the pandemic. So we are doing some preventative education, some outreach. We've got a grant coming in for Lyme disease. There are a lot of things that we're going to be working on over the next year to mitigate these increases. In our community health services programs, these are designed to link specific high-risk populations with needed care and support. In 3 of the 5 program areas, referral to these programs increased in some cases by up to 50%. And thank you. I just noticed that somebody is changing the slides for me. Thank you. I wondered what was going on there. Appreciate it.
It's an undercover operation.
Yeah. And our children's healthcare, Children's Special Healthcare Services Program, our team assists families of children with chronic physical health conditions like cancer, congenital heart defect, or asthma with case management and financial support for their health care. As you can imagine, this past year and really the past 2 years, the threat of COVID-19 created additional stress and fear for these families, excuse me, and the need for additional support services, which was provided by our team. Our parent advocate worked hard to ensure the parent Facebook page, which serves as a gathering place for families and children enrolled in this program. We shared accurate, timely, and relevant COVID information on this page. Our staff provided increased outreach, including special vaccination clinics for children with special needs and their caregivers. In our hearing and vision program, we generally see about 30,000 children for screenings for both hearing and vision screenings in the school each year. In the 4 years prior to the pandemic, an average of 3% of hearing screens and 9% of vision screens resulted in a referral to a specialist for follow-up diagnosis and treatment. During 2021, we were not able to provide these school-based screenings. And based on these previous trends, we estimate that 1,300 children may not have received vision follow-up care and 300 children may not have received the hearing care they needed. As you can imagine, this is of great concern for all of us, as it's critically important for children to learn. We're back in school this year. Our team is going full force and working hard to catch up. And we're already seeing increases in referral rates over and above what we saw in the past. So we're optimistic that we're able to catch many of the children that were lost last year to not being able to do that screening. In our Pathways to Better Health program, most client encounters were shifted to telehealth rather than home or community visits. There were over 400 adults served. And for those of you that don't know what a pathway is, it's a connection made based on the person's needs when we assess them coming in at the front of a service delivery. So of those 400 adults, the top pathways that were completed with the assistance of our team continue to show the struggles that people had during the pandemic with housing, food access, transportation, medical care, and financial assistance. Our community health workers were also deployed specifically to assist with ensuring equitable access to vaccine and assisted with multicultural and multilanguage service delivery. As I mentioned, our referrals have continued to rise, especially among pregnant women and infants being referred to our maternal and infant health program, which are up about 50%. Among our MHP clients, 76% of those assessed in our clinic for anxiety and depression were identified as needing additional mental health education services by our team. And of those folks, 65% required case management and assistance, accessing additional mental health treatment and care. So you can see how very important it is for our team to be deployed and meeting with these pregnant women and children. It's especially important since stress and anxiety have shown to impact birth outcomes and healthy child development. Last year, we were really pleased to receive a 3-year minority health capacity building grant, which allowed us to conduct a minority health survey. And this was the first survey we had done in over 20 years. The purpose of the survey was to obtain information from Ottawa County migrant farm workers about a wide range of issues and behaviors that affect their health. 319 adult workers were surveyed, and the results showed there were several health issues identified and multiple barriers, including knowledge of community resources, workers' rights, language, lack of health insurance, and cost of health care. Based on these results, a migrant health task force was formed, and with the assistance of our community strategic impact department, we developed a strategic plan and made some prioritizations that will be carried out over the next 2 years of the grant. So there will be more to come on that. And I believe some of our partners are in the room today with us on that project. So thanks. In health promotion and planning, basically these programs and services are based on the prioritized needs of our community health needs assessment, which is conducted every 3 years. It's also designed to bring community partners together to identify and solve health problems collectively. We all know about the increasing trend and the need for mental health services for both youth and adults. This need was actually identified, I think as early as 2015, but has continued to increase and went up even more significantly during the pandemic. This past year, the Youth Suicide Prevention Coalition partnered with organizations specializing in suicide prevention training like Mosaic and the Be Nice campaign to expand prevention education in the community. Also in partnership with Community Mental Health, a community mailing was sent to all households to promote the community crisis line in 211 to connect people with support resources when they need them. There's also the Blue Envelope Project, which I believe was mentioned earlier. This is a partnership with Spectrum Health and the Intermediate School District, which provided Blue Envelope training to 29 schools, equipping staff with skills to immediately respond to a student who is known to have suicidal thoughts. When an incident occurs, the trained staff member is immediately brought in to intervene with the student. Parents are notified, obviously, and given suicide safety education. They work with the student on a safety plan. Student meets with school counselor and receives weekly follow-up, and referrals, of course, are made for outpatient services or emergency hospitalization as needed. There were 415 school incidents of children with suicidal thoughts in 2021. Again, we're gravely concerned about this, but I feel that we've got the right partners at the table and we're doing everything that we can to create positive interventions and resources that are available to help these children and families. The most incidents occurred between grades 2 to 12, and the highest incidents in 7th and 8th grade, which is again one of those transitional points which brings additional stress to our children at that age. Ottawa Food is an organized effort bringing together 45 local agency partners to address food insecurity. This past year, we supported pantries with Healthy Food Rescue. Healthy Food Rescue is basically soon to be expired food that will be thrown away, which we take, or the Food Council takes away and redistributes to pantries and makes it available to people that really need it. We had the expansion of the Meet Up and Eat Up program, which distributed 497 meals for children under 18 last summer. And again, Ottawa Food is a big partnership. There are so many people around the table that are really making this important work happen. Senior Project Fresh bolstered food access for seniors. There were tools developed to link residents with food resources. And there was even personal protective equipment distributed to pantries to make sure that they could continually operate throughout the pandemic. Often services in our environmental health programs are economic indicators, and our program stats I think we need to advance a slide. Thank you. Economic indicators and our program stats indicate continued growth in our community. This is good news. In 2021, we issued more food licenses than in any other year, up from the previous year from 743 to 786 food licenses, and even up from pre-pandemic numbers of 754. Our plan reviews are also up. Plan reviews, as you may recall, are when our staff member goes in and actually helps to facilitate the building and the layout and all the infrastructure that goes into starting up a new food establishment. So those numbers were all also up. The ratio of violations to inspections was higher in 2021. This is important to note because we believe that this is because of the staff shortage that we're seeing throughout our community in a number of different areas. It therefore required additional support from our staff, and I just have to compliment our team. They're going out there and doing everything that they can to help these food establishments be successful and maintain their business. Our on-site water and sewage disposal services were also up with a 19% increase in overall services, 145% increase in vacant land evaluations for new builds, and 60% increase in well replacement permits. Our environmental sustainability program also continues to grow with 13% increase in customers to our sustainability centers. And we also had 260 tons of scrap metal, e-waste, which is electronic products, household hazardous waste, and recycling collected at our sites. Finally, I can't not mention a few things about our emergency response over the past year. Prior to the pandemic, our organization had worked on ensuring our preparedness and competency in performing the emergency response national standards. As you may recall, our department was nationally recognized by Project Public Health Ready, which we call PPHR. This is a criteria-based training and recognition program that assesses local health department capacity and capability to plan for, respond to, and recover from public health emergencies. Only 17% of the 3,000 US health departments have achieved this. And right now in 2022, we are actually working on the renewal of that. During the pandemic, we were responsible for all of the capabilities listed here in front of you. In 2021, we primarily focused on the response capabilities, which are highlighted in red, not red, in yellow. I'm a little colorblind today. In yellow, which translated into testing, vaccine access, public information and sharing, grants and resources to schools and other community partners, disease surveillance and epidemiology to identify risks, and reducing health disparity. A critically important aspect of readiness, response, and recovery is ensuring health equity for all of our residents, especially those that may have barriers to getting the services that they need to remain healthy due to things such as race, ethnicity, language barrier, physical or cognitive ability, age, homelessness, or being homebound due to any kind of disability. A task force came together to help ensure equitable access to vaccination, and it had representatives from all of these different groups to help us. They provided valuable feedback on how we could improve our outreach, communications, messaging, and access to vaccine in an inclusive environment. Examples of the activities that were included were the creation of vaccine strike teams that took vaccine to the people in migrant camps, assisted living facilities, individuals in their home that were homebound, maybe in jail or in a homeless shelter or in a homeless tent camp. Clinics were also held for individuals with special needs and their caregivers, allowing for extra help and extra time. Curbside vaccinations were provided for those having mobility challenges. Experts from agencies serving various populations provided clinics and support. For example, our agencies that serve our aging population. And we provided multicultural, multilingual, and non-tech friendly assistance with vaccine sign-up and assistance at our clinics. A big challenge was keeping our community informed during a period of rapid change. We used 20 or more different mediums of communication to reach everybody to the greatest degree possible. And I know that there were some people that communicated back to us and said, oh, we don't know where to go. We didn't see it. And so we just kept trying to do more and more outreach. As an important part of our communication, we listened and we heard and we responded to the community's needs for information. Our website was continually updated. Weekly Gov delivery bulletins were distributed, loaded with information the community told us they needed. Webinars and live Facebook sessions were held with experts from the community on a range of issues that people were facing, like childhood depression and vaccine safety. A call center was established, as well as web-based question and answer so that people could immediately get responses to their questions. Written materials and vaccine appointment scheduling were translated into Spanish. We provided assistance in other languages as needed. And our staff met weekly or bi-weekly with leaders in various community sectors, including K-12, higher education, and the business community. We had over 1 million hits to our website, which I had to let that sink in a minute. I was like, wow, that's good. People knew where to came and they came to get it. I believe the most effective action was that of engaging strategic partnerships. Many relationships had been formed long before the pandemic, but many new relationships developed among stakeholders in Ottawa County and throughout West Michigan. Coming together to solve problems and deal with the crisis is the Ottawa way. And I feel honored to have been part of this amazing effort that included resilient partners whose genuine care is what has and will continue to help us through this difficult time, and which continues to provide us hope. I want to take the opportunity to commend and thank our business, faith, education, higher education, local government, healthcare, nonprofit agencies, law enforcement, emergency responders, and all who have walked together over the past 2 years to keep our residents as safe as possible. The journey has not been an easy one for anybody, including our residents, and there were no perfect solutions. I wish I had time to call out every single person today and thank them and their organization by name. I just want to share my sincere respect and appreciation for the help and integrity. I also want to thank each member of our public health team who has worked very hard under difficult circumstances for over 2 years. In the face of emergency response, they continue to meet the public health needs of our community. I believe their professionalism and dedication to serve is truly remarkable. I also want to sincerely thank all of you as county board members and our county administration. The job of a public servant can sometimes be difficult, especially when we're all trying to balance competing needs and conflicting perspectives. Your steady leadership and the commitment to the well-being of all residents in the face of an uncertain situation without a perfect solution has shown great integrity and is worth all of our respect. And I just want you to know how thankful I am for your leadership over the past 2 years. So, gratitude. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So what do you attribute to the fact that you had more food licenses in the last year?
That is a great question. I don't really have a really concrete answer. I think we could probably come up with some guesses. We had people leaving other sectors of the workforce and maybe starting, a proprietorship on their own. The thing that I found interesting was that it was even higher than pre-pandemic, because I thought, well, maybe some went out of business and then, reopened, and that would have skewed our numbers, but that just isn't what we saw. And the food industry right now it's a tough field because of the worker shortage, but I'm telling you, we've got great restaurants. Don't hesitate to go out to eat. They're providing wonderful service, and they're strong businesses that we need to support. So
then one other follow-up question is, how do you deal with food delivery services? How do you regulate them, or do you regulate them?
At this moment, these discussions are taking place at the state level, and I don't believe there's been any resolution to that, Commissioner Bergman. That has been a bit of a difficult situation. You mean like with Uber Eats? Yeah,
or
if they're part of,
Grubhub
oh, I'm sorry.
or like Grubhub or any of
Yeah,
those people.
yeah.
that are doing
If they're
it.
part of the organization, like for example, if you're getting a pizza delivery from, the pizza place down the
Yeah,
road,
yeah, that's
then, they're regulated as part
Right.
of their food license. But if they're separate, it's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to follow up with our food supervisor, just to see what the current status of that is. And I will certainly get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stiles.
Lisa, I just want to say thank you to you and your staff and Marcia. I don't know how many times I've called your office and, I've always been attended with just, the most respect and, it's been a tough year for both of, you and for the whole department, but thank you for all your work.
I
Thank
think in
you.
light of that, we should stand and applaud this.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. I so appreciate that, and I graciously accept that on behalf of the team at the Health Department. I really think they will appreciate that gratitude. If I could take one more quick second. Dr. Gwen Unziker is here, and I know many of you have met her that are on the Health and Human Services Committee. I don't know if the other commissioners have had a chance to meet her, but this is Dr. Gwen, we call her. And then Allison Clark. Many of you saw Christina's face through the pandemic for so long. Christina has moved on, and Allison is our new superstar, and she's already been on TV, and she's doing a fantastic job. And I am so grateful that both of them have joined our organization and are just real assets to the work that we do. So.
Yeah, I got one. You mentioned the like battery dump sites and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What?
The Sustainability Center.
Yeah, the push for like EV cars and all that fun stuff. Is there any talks or any future planning on any dump sites for like car battery, like the big car batteries, like electrical vehicle stuff like that?
No. Not that I'm aware of, Commissioner Terpstra. They require really special disposal. I don't know that our current centers could handle that, but that's another one that I'm going to go back and talk to the supervisor in that program area just to see where we are at with that. And I will follow up with you on that, but I don't think that has been part of our model to this point, but certainly we're changing it up all the time. I'll get back to you on that.
Two things. Are you still checking waste treatment plants for COVID?
Yes, actually, through partnerships with both Grand Valley and Hope College,
Okay.
they are actually collecting the samples and running all the analytics. We're going to be working, our epidemiology team is going to be working with them on sort of validating what all of this data means and whether or not we can use this as a valid tool as we go forward and doing surveillance around COVID and potentially even other communicable diseases. So it's really exciting science. And actually, we talked about bringing that information to Health and Human Services for a little deeper dive, or we could do it at a board workshop if everybody's interested in learning more about that.
Thank you, Lisa. One other thing, Dr. Gwen, thank you for being on the team. But have you been in touch with Dr. Heidel? And we miss his disease of the month at Health and Human Services. So, have you?
He's writing it down. He's writing it down myself.
I do talk to Dr. Heidel periodically. He's still sending me funny little memes and things. And actually, I talked to him last week and he wanted me to say hello to everybody. He knew that I was coming to do the board presentation this week. And so I will mention that you inquired about him, and I will talk to Gwen about coming up with some, bug or new virus or something to talk about.
Is our Miles to Smiles bus still cruising around?
It is, and I intentionally didn't, it's in the annual report. I didn't include it in my verbal report today because there was a lot of information that went out in the newsletter to all of our citizens about it. But yes, we are back in business with Miles to Smiles in full force this year too. We had to take a little bit of a pause last year just because of the school situation, but yeah, we're playing catch up in our oral health program too.
Thanks so much for your presentation.
Yes,
Very
thank you
complete.
very much.
Thank you. Next, we will have our Ottawa County Community Action Agency Annual Report presented by Jennifer Brzezowski.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I don't have any fun hand signals or anything to teach you just while we're warming up, but. Okay, so I'm hoping that this report will give you a good overview of what we do at Community Action Agency and what we've done over the past year. And I have the clicker, right? Okay. So our mission statement, it's actually changed in the fall of 2021. So our new mission statement is Ottawa County Community Action Agency aims to reduce the effects of financial hardships by promoting self-sufficiency and empowering individuals and families to achieve economic independence. I felt like this was an important place to start because it speaks to a lot of the work that we do. We also removed the word poverty that was in the previous mission statement, as it kind of had some implications that the person's situation was a long-term situation. If COVID-19 has shown us anything, it's that life can change rapidly, and we might see people struggle with inability to pay bills due to health concerns, reduction in working hours, or changes in childcare needs, just to name a few circumstances. So our unofficial slogan is small yet mighty. And this is not a reference to my height. We think it's important to note that with all the work that we do and what I'm going to talk about today, we do that with a team of 6 people. So that's really impactful. We've accomplished so much in the last year and years to come. So just to look at our numbers, so like last year of 2020 and 21, we saw an increase in our budget, and this was due largely due to COVID-related assistance. In addition, a large chunk of this amount is housing-related grants that we administer and then we distribute to agencies such as Community Action House and Good Samaritan Ministries. So this one, I apologize, it's kind of difficult to see, but it's a depiction of all the programming and the grants that we managed in fiscal year 2021 with, again, just a team of just 6 people. So the different colors represent categories or program areas. So in case you're unable to read the descriptions, there were 11 total COVID-related grants, in addition to our normal programming. So you might be thinking, why not hire more people to do this work, because it's so much larger. So unfortunately, hiring more staff wasn't really an option for us. Some of the grants we had were only a couple months long. We didn't really have advance notice with a lot of the grants. So things were constantly changing. So we had to continue to provide these services with the staff of 6. So just to give an example, if a grant is $50,000 and $5,000 is for staffing time and $45,000 for client assistance, and we only end up spending $30,000 of that because we only have a couple months to do so, then our staffing dollars then reduce by almost $2,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of that ever-moving target that we have in our agency. So in addition, it's also helpful to understand that each grant and program have slightly different eligibility rules and regulations. So each funder has different monitoring schedules as well. So depending on the situation, we might have one client that's getting utility assistance and they're served by 2 to 3 different grants. That's based on eligibility and our budget balance. So our intake and eligibility specialists do a really great job at keeping track of all of this information, just to make sure that we're spending out our grants appropriately. Okay. And to give you an idea of that income eligibility, so this is the most current poverty guidelines for 2022. So if you're able to see, the second program that's listed is CSFP, which is our senior food program. So for a household of 2 individuals, they must have an income of less than $23,803, which is very, very low. So this is less than $2,000 per month. And if both individuals are receiving Social Security income, depending on the amount, this could put them well over that amount. So this just kind of shows you that we have varying levels of incomes as well as complexity with each of our grants. And we're not always able to fill in all of the gaps that are there with income. So next are our assistance totals. So this is a breakdown of the households that we served in fiscal year 2021. Just to note, the category other would include our home rehab projects, lower my bill client education, COVID programs such as transportation assistance and quarantine kits. So if you're doing the math, you might notice that the categories don't match up to the total number of households served. And that would be because the total doesn't include our quarterly food programs. So it's really a low estimate. So the food program data is counted a little bit differently because we might have people that are served every quarter with that program or only once per quarter. In addition, they might be receiving our emergency food assistance and they might be getting utility assistance at the same time. So I tried to give you deduplicated numbers so you would get a good idea of how many households we've actually served. Okay, so next, in addition to all the programs that we do, our very small team also organizes the Walk for Warmth fundraising event. So this fundraiser will help with any gaps that there are in funding for utility assistance. So we might have somebody that's just over the income limits that our grant allows. So then we can come in with Walk for Warmth dollars and we can help that individual pay their utility bill. So this year we had only 90 walkers, much smaller than years past. We usually had about 200 to 300 people at that event, which we kind of anticipated it was going to be much smaller. So even though the numbers were smaller, the donations were much larger, which is very exciting. So the number has actually changed since I did this. We are currently at $24,797, just under $200 short of our goal of $25,000. That total, in case you're wondering, is almost as much, if not more, than years past when we had a match from Consumers Energy. So very, very exciting. Wanted to shout out our sponsors. I know I've done it at Health and Human Services meetings, but we've had a lot of great sponsors this year. In addition, some newer sponsors, Semco being one that led the charge with a $10,000 donation. One that was left off of here was the Zeal and Robotics team. A group of high schoolers raised over $2,300 and they represented about 20 or more of the attendees at the walk, which was very impactful as well. So I thought it would be helpful to hear some of the stories and how we impact people. The numbers are nice, but it's also nice to hear the stories as well. So this story is somebody that actually had no running water. And they also had sewage in their yard that neighbors were complaining about. They were growing very, very concerned about. So our weatherization coordinator, along with Holland Township and a local plumber, were able to expedite the situation and get this person connected to the city sewer. They were very grateful, and this individual is actually considering joining our board. So just another success there. So our weatherization program, this is kind of a difficult program, at least for me when I came on to try to understand, but I thought some of the pictures are really interesting. So it's not what a lot of people think. They might think new windows and doors, and that will help lower energy savings, or it might increase energy savings rather. But you might see in the background is insulation. This particular project also received a new furnace. They received a new water heater, in addition to more insulation in their basement. So those are items that really help impact the energy savings in the home. Just to give an example, the project started with 2,969 CFMs, which is how much air is leaking in the home. And it ended at 1,440. So that's a huge reduction in air leakage in the home, and it ends up saving the customer a lot of money. So just to look forward, some things we're going to be doing in 2022, we're going to continue with more team building and staff development. We're going to continue with our partnerships in the community. We had some really strong ones with Good Samaritan Ministries this year, for example. We're also really proud of our high performance that we have with the state. We currently have a 5-star rating for areas such as monitoring and programmatic details. We're going to be doing a strategic plan this year as well, and then also hoping to look at more different funding streams that might be a little bit flexible than what we've had in years past. Thank you. Any questions?
There's a number of us that did the walk, and
Yes, thank you.
we
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed the opportunity to do that. It was
Yes.
a fun experience.
And thank you for being there.
If I'm not mistaken, Jennifer, you said that little newsletter that went out for Ottawa County.
Yes,
Did push you over the lot. So,
absolutely.
I know we are looking at one going out in June or in July.
Mhm.
Maybe we could have what the outcome.
Absolutely.
Of that, so that people know that this is what's going with it. So,
Definitely.
I think-
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that.
Any further questions for Jennifer? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, report of our county administrator. You
Thank
gonna
you.
Share with us about your skiing experience?
I'm walking still, so without the aid of crutches, so it was a success. We've been conducting interviews for those bucket manager positions under our ARPA task force. So we've done 2 out of 3 so far. So we've done affordable housing and business needs. And I think the human service needs interviews are Wednesday. And I think the results of those interviews will be discussed with the task force in April. We have a meeting next week at Finance to talk about the budget for the Family Justice Center project. So we'll be presenting some detailed information on that as well. As a reminder, the MAC Legislative Conference is March 21st through 23rd in Lansing. And as a result, we've rescheduled our Board of Commissioners meeting. So it's not on Tuesday, the 22nd, it'll be on Thursday, March 24th. So just remember that. And we have scheduled our local legislative forum for May 6th at 8:30 in the morning. It'll run for a couple hours. And we're inviting our federal and state legislators to that, as well as our local units of government, and just to talk about legislation that impacts the counties as well as the local units. And I just want to thank the directors and coordinators and health officer that came today. Just really shows that they do a lot of hard work and provide a lot of services to our residents. Probably a lot of services that people don't even realize they do. So just want to be a shout out to them, and that's all I have.
Any questions for John? Okay, thank you. General information, comments, meetings attended.
I just want to remind everybody, Health and Human Services is canceled for tomorrow. So anybody that look for it on Zoom or show up here. So I know, Tyler, you're disappointed, but you'll get over it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to invite this board to a free breakfast this Friday morning at Countryside Greenhouse in Allendale. The Farm Bureau is putting on their annual breakfast, and every one of this board is invited. It starts at 6:30 registration. Breakfast will be at 7 o'clock, and then there'll be a little bit of question and answer for our legislators, and sometimes there's some board questions. So if you're thinking about that, please reach out to the Farm Bureau yet this week and let them know you're coming, or maybe let Regina know, or somebody know that you're coming. It's Friday morning, 6:30.
All vegetarian? I mean, it's just
Oh,
plant-based?
no, just picture a big thing of scrambled eggs and bacon and ham and toast. You're not gonna have all that. You're gonna have just a good breakfast.
Okay.
Anything else, gentlemen? Okay, seeing none, and this is our second opportunity for public comment. Anybody that would like to address the board? Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on those two questions. Our environmental health manager was listening. And so to answer the question about the food delivery, it is currently not regulated, but discussions are taking place at the state. But there just hasn't been a lot of movement on that, but we're monitoring that closely. As far as batteries, car batteries, this would be commercial waste that businesses pay to dispose of. It's not considered household hazardous waste, so it doesn't actually fall into our purview, and it's regulated differently. So at this point, it's not something that we're able to provide. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom.
No one on Zoom? All right. Enjoy the afternoon, the sunshine, and we're adjourned.